to another episode of the Three Abecedarians, where we
22.
talk about Bible stories as adults that stories that we may have heard as a child, and we're going to try to put them in kind of a more modern context to help with our perspective, which we didn't really do with Adam and Eve. I had a whole thing about how Adam was like a big Bob Seger fan. We didn't do that. So we're going to try to do that with Balaam. This is the second story that we've shared in a row with talking animals where people didn't freak out like they should.
Yeah.
Do you want to recap, or do you want me to recap?
You are a lot more excited about this story.
I am. I love Balaam. I don't remember all the people's names. I just remember Balaam, and I feel like the king's name was Balak.
Yes.
However you want to pronounce it.
We'll just call him the king.
Son of Zippor.
Sure. He's really concerned because there's a lot of Israelites around, and so he sends some folks to go to talk to this prophet Balaam. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, the recap has run long, due primarily to my enthusiasm and my belief that what the world wants more than anything is to hear me talk. I will now offer a more succinct recap while you enjoy these peaceful scenes of the drainage ditch beside my house. Balak was the king of the Moabites, and the nearby presence of the massive Israelite nation was making him a little nervous, so he sent for a prophet named Balaam. The king wanted Balaam to curse the Israelites, but Balaam refused to even accompany the king's men because he didn't want to go against the will of God. But God gave Balaam permission to go. This permission was followed by overconfidence on the part of Balaam, who, in a moment of pride, saddled his donkey and went to see King Balak. God must not have appreciated Balaam's haughtiness because he sent an angel to kill Balaam with a sword. Though Balaam couldn't see the angel, his donkey could, and made every attempt to avoid it. It left the road and walked into walls and stopped returning its texts, but the angel kept appearing, ready to strike Balaam down. Finally, the donkey lay down on the ground and refused to move, even when Balaam began to beat the poor beast. Finally, the donkey spoke to Balaam, who didn't think this was weird at all, asking why he was being beaten. After Balaam laments his own lack of a sword, God opens his eyes and showed him the angel who was waiting ahead to kill him. Balaam realized that he was blinded by his own pride, and he repented. Whether he and the donkey remained on speaking terms after their argument is not discussed further in Scripture. The second part of Balaam's story, and I'm sure by now I've run through all the drainage ditch footage and have been forced to continue with something far less appealing, begins when King Balak takes the prophet out to see the Israelites so that Balaam can curse them. Having just gotten off of God's shit list, Balaam was in no hurry to anger the Lord again. So instead of cursing the Israelites, he blesses them. Balak takes him to another place where Balaam can see the Israelites better, so he'll understand why they need to be stopped. Balaam blesses them a second time. And when the king repeats his request a third time, Balaam again blesses God's people. As he's leaving the king, who is understandably miffed, Balaam curses the Moabites. So, not only had Balak's curse coupon expired, he was triple charged for wasting the cashier's time, and then, when he went out to the parking lot, he found that his car had been set on fire.
What's really powerful for me is it shows that God opens up Balaam's eyes, meets Balaam where he is even in his sin, and still shows grace by opening up his vision. Which for me I think is just so powerful when you're thinking about all the times that I continue to fall to my pride, and just knowing that even if I do, God still meets me where I'm at. Then once his vision is open, Balaam just feels like, wow, a donkey got it, and I still did not.
He's embarrassed with his own foolishness, and everything he thought about himself just kind of buckles, and he's just like, oh man, I'm such a turd burglar. This is so stupid.
Yeah.
And he probably didn't say turd burglar, because I don't even know what that means.
I think it's interesting that Balaam gets so mad at the donkey. He's like, if I had a sword right now, I would totally kill you.
Yeah.
And then after that, shortly after that is when, in the account anyway, that his eyes get opened and he sees the angel, and then the angel's like,
Ditto.
If your donkey hadn't stopped you, I would have killed you, and I would have let the donkey
go. And let the donkey live. Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah. If you're the king of the Moabites, are you just not like pulling out your hair and be like, stop talking? You know?
Balaam says to Balaam, okay, neither curse them at all nor bless them at all. He's like, fine, just stop talking.
Yes. I love that. Because he's just like,
And then Balaam's like, look, dude, I told you this was going to happen.
Exactly.
You tried it twice.
Yes, I love that. I love.
He tries it again.
Yeah, he does, and he does it a third.
For the version,
And he does it a third time because, like, Balak does not learn from his mistakes.
After the third time that Balak is, slow learning, and he's like, no, try it again. Then finally he's like, all right, just fine, shut up and go away. And then Balaam was like, oh yeah, I have one more thing to say. The Israelites are basically going to destroy you. So as a parting shot, so 3 times he doesn't do what he says, and then when he finally just tells him, I don't want to hear anything you have to say, and he's like, wait, hold on, I had one more thing.
What I find interesting about all of that is you've got the 3 encounters between the angel and Balaam and his donkey, where God's giving him 3 encounters of 3 attempts to warn Balaam about his actions. And then at the very end of that 3rd attempt, you see the eyes opened and grace is shown. Mm-hmm. So then, just like that, it's translated where there's then 3 opportunities for Balaam to show grace and bless the cities. And I just think that's kind of cool how the narrative, that's how God works often, is where you've got this amount of times now, let's go bless just as many, and then more people by saying now Israel is going to overpower their enemies.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. So let's try to put Balaam in a modern setting.
I thought this was going to be another Harry Potter thing. I thought this was a segue into sorting him into a Harry Potter.
Pages of notes.
The sorting mat is coming up. No.
Oh, okay.
No.
So we have to. Okay.
So Balaam, I feel like he starts out as sort of like a small town pastor. Where he's like very humble, very like, look, this is my job.
I'm your journey right now.
He's like, yeah, I'll do your wedding, I'll do your funeral, and these are my rates. This is what I charge. He's got a job, like this is his job, and there's no question about it. It's not like he's been called to it. It's like this is sort of the family business. But then God speaks to him, and he's like, whoa, this just got really real. Like now it's not just a job anymore. Now it's like, I've been touched. I've been Billy Graham'd. He gets very full of himself, and he kind of starts to like think, maybe I'm not just a small town pastor. Maybe I could go super church. Maybe I could go Andy Stanley. So he's a small town pastor, and he gets this calling from God. And good grief, would you stop with the journey?
That's my favorite part.
Stop saying it.
Okay. So he's this pastor from a small town. He was born in a small town, and he lives in a small town. Then he gets this call from God, and he starts to think, maybe I'm a big shot. Maybe I could be one of the prophets. Maybe they'll do like an appendices to like the, what's the scripture, the books that they had back then. What was it called?
The Torah?
The Torah. Thanks. Yeah. Maybe I'd be in Torah 2.0. Maybe they'll be like the Book of Balaam, huh? Yeah. And so he gets on his high horse, which is actually a donkey, and God is like, no, you totally misread this. Keep your denims, keep your plaid shirt. You're still just a you think you're Liberace, but you're really Meatloaf. You know what I mean? You don't get that reference at all.
No, I'm still laughing about the small town pastor.
I will, in post, I'll put up a picture of Liberace and a picture of Meatloaf. And then when you watch it, you'll be like, oh, I see. And God kind of knocks him down a peg and is like, I'm not going to use you if you're being an a-hole. And right now, you're being an a-hole. I will use you if you're just going to be like a journey. Small town pastor. If that's
he's embraced it now.
Yes. Yeah. Why fight? Okay. Balaam kind of is like, you're right. You know what? You came to me as this guy, and that's who you wanted. So I'm not going to try to be this other guy.
It's kind of like if you think of a modern setting. So he's a house builder.
You take
so here's Balaam.
Please.
He builds these incredibly beautiful homes, right?
Right. Sure.
And so this guy comes to me. He's like, I got this neighbor who built this house. I want a better house. I want you to come and build me such a great house that it makes that guy's house look like garbage.
Okay.
And so the guy's like, okay. But then God comes like, I don't want you to build a house for that guy. Don't go build a house for that guy. But then, so then he tells the guy, sorry, God told me I can't build a house for you, so don't bother. It doesn't matter how much you pay me, And the guy's like, no, I'll pay you a lot of money. Just, come and, seriously? The wheels on this chair?
Or the guy says, look, what I want you to do is I want you to look through our homeowners association codes and you find some violation, some way that they are screwing up so that we have to tear down their house. And Balaam's like, well, technically, they are going above and beyond what the homeowners association code says, and they get lawn of the year.
And build them a brand new house that's bigger than yours.
They get a grant. They get a grant from, I don't know, like landscapers of the World Unite, and now they get even nicer bushes, and their house is going to look even better. And sorry, I can't do anything for you. You live in a gravel pit.
I don't think we've clarified anything about this.
Not at all. So let's put him in a Hogwarts house.
Are you only doing Balaam, or are you doing Balak too? Because I think you should. I think they both. I think you got to do both.
Okay, all right.
You're gonna have to go out.
I don't have any notes for Balak.
I don't
but
care.
Yeah, we can do it. Okay, so
You can do it.
Balaam was a prophet. Now, I feel like if you're a prophet, if you're getting information that the rest of us don't have access to, that makes you a Ravenclaw.
Hallelujah.
You can appreciate that.
Let's
Okay.
go.
However,
I don't know what any of that means, so it doesn't.
I'm a Ravenclaw.
He
That's
got-
all I need to know.
he got his pride all riled up. And he's made himself kind of fancy. And he was like, I'm kind of a big shot. And he got the donkey and he did his thing. Very Slytherin move. So there's another point for Slytherin, okay? But then he yelled at a donkey, which
And he
is
threatened to kill it.
total Hufflepuff. If you're yelling at a donkey, you're probably a Hufflepuff.
But he threatened to kill it. What is that? Does that change it?
He yelled at a donkey. He yelled at a donkey.
Yell a donkey, kill
Now,
a donkey.
hang on now.
overpowers.
Hang on.
All right.
But he defied a king at the risk of his own life for the right reasons, which is pure Gryffindor. Okay, so here we got a point for each. However, he's still charged for his services, so that makes him a Slytherin.
I think the whole thing should all be connected to one big house.
Can we talk?
So then you could just you'd be
Kinda
like
like
shades.
Hogwarts.
It'd be like
So
shades
you know
of
who
whatever,
wanted to do
right?
that? You know who wanted to do away with houses? Voldemort.
What are you trying to say?
Sam Bryan's Voldemort.
I don't know who that is. Is that a good guy?
Yes, the best.
I hate you so much.
The dangerous
Balak,
part. It's hard to-
he wanted to curse his enemies, which could be Gryffindor or Slytherin. Slytherins, they don't just automatically want to curse everybody. They just throw a lot of shade first. Gryffindors, they also want to curse people. But he what else did he do?
Well, he was worried about his people. Well, I don't know if he was worried about his people or if he was just worried about himself. But he's looking at these people growing and being like, "Hey, these people are going to take over.
Right,
I don't
so-
want them taking over.
so
I
he-
want to defend my people."
He had a lot
had-
of money.
He was wealthy, but he was a king. He wanted to curse his enemies. He saw in advance the threat they posed,
Potential, yeah.
which is a very Ravenclaw thing to do.
Hmm.
And I feel like there wasn't very much Hufflepuff about him at all. Although he kept basically shooting himself in the foot repeatedly, which is kind of a Gryffindor thing to do because they have a hard time learning from their mistakes. And I'm going to go that he was a Gryffindor. He was just a misguided Gryffindor.
It's probably that time that we should end the video.
It is.
and
It is
whatnot.
100% time to be done.
Considering
now.
we spent as much time on the modern reading and the.
Well, you
Swords
didn't.
and hats.
You didn't. I'm looking at your notes,
There's a front and back.
and
There's a front.
oh, there is Balaam notes.
There's a lot, but
I don't have Balaam notes, but I have more
On
notes
pink
from the first
paper.
one.
on pink paper.
I have more Adam and Eve notes. We could go back to that.
No, I think we're good. I think we're good. Join us next time as we talk about Cain and or Abel, and
I have notes about that too.
you do, but
Why
we're-
they brought offering?
We'll
Because
save those for next
Yeah.
time.
Teaser for
Save
next
that for
time.
next
Why
time.
would
Yeah.
they bring offering?
I have something about cultural assumptions.
Yeah, I know you do. All right.
Man, we really got to work on our conclusion.